Back guys to another video to Extreme Gaming. If you guys are new to our channel, make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. If you guys this is Spooky Scary Friday, so if you guys are new, make sure to smash that like button. And without further ado, there's gonna be the first animation, and here we go guys. I hope you guys like it.
When I was 7 or 8 years old, a man moved to my neighborhood. He was around his 60s and introduced himself to me. His name was Tom. He was the only one who spoke English fluently in our neighborhood, but he always tried to speak our native language. He seemed really nice at first. One day after school, my friends and I saw a new cafe in our neighborhood. We were curious and wanted to know how many desserts they had, so we stopped by and looked inside. Then we heard someone say, "Hello, kids." He then said, "Come on in. You can have all the desserts you want for free." Without thinking, we went inside and stayed there for 2 hours. After that, we soon stayed there almost every day after school. Everyone started to like Tom. One day, we went to his cafe like we usually did. But for some reason, I felt kind of uncomfortable, because at some point, I noticed that there were only kids inside his shop. Tom came to me and said, "Hey, I saw you yesterday with a cat. Do you like cats?" I said yes, and he proceeded to talk to me more. He told me that he has 8 cats in his house and showed me pictures of his cats. All of a sudden, one of his pictures from inside his wallet fell to the floor. I picked it up and I could see a girl's face with blonde curly hair and green eyes. I thought that she was his granddaughter, but what he told me next was a huge shock. He said, "Oh, this is my wife. She lives in London right now." I was confused because the girl in the picture was just a kid. Maybe 14 or 15 years old. I thought that he was lying or something. Then I got up. "Oh, I forgot. My mom is waiting for me." So I quickly left the shop and went back home. Then I just hugged my mom. The next day when I got to school, there were policemen everywhere. I didn't understand what was going on. Then one police officer walked over to me and he said, "Kid, you have to come with us." They also called my parents, so we went to the police station together. It turned out that Tom's warrant was served. They found lots of data on his computer about the young girls who were raped by him. He even lied about his name. His real name was Hardin. The worst and most horrible thing was when they entered his room. The entire wall was covered with my pictures. When they said this to my parents, I was terrified, so I fainted. The police arrested him, and he was put in jail for several years. Now I'm 18 years old, but I am still afraid. According to my neighbors, he's returning to our neighborhood. I don't want to go out, and I don't even know what to do. If anyone has any advice, please help me and let me know what I should do.
Guys, this is the second animation. If you guys have any comment that you guys want to know, tomorrow's Funny Saturday, so if you guys would go and make it. And second animation is true horror story about a creepy guy who stalked me, and we're about to go in, guys.
When I was 17 years old, I went to my friend's birthday party. Lots of teenagers were drinking illegally. However, I was never into that kind of stuff, so I just sat with other friends and we just talked. Then, one guy I had never met before joined the party and started talking to another group of people. Soon he turned to me and introduced himself as John. He was quite tall and had remarkably blue eyes. He seemed like a pretty nice guy at first, but he gradually started to act weird. He kept following me and seemed to have a strong obsession with me. One of my friends, Callum, saw my discomfort, so he said, "Quit it, man. Don't be a creep." John looked back at Callum, and the look in his eyes made my skin crawl. "Why? She's mine." What he said was kind of creepy, so I called my dad to come and get me. Callum stayed with me while I was waiting for my dad at the front of the house. "He's watching us," Callum told me, and my body went stiff. "Here, hold my hand. If he thinks we're together, he might give up." So I held his hand, and then a loud shout of anger came from behind us. We both looked, and John was headed straight towards us. I was getting really worried. He looked like he was going to hit Callum. But just then my dad arrived. So I grabbed Callum's hand and we ran to the car. As soon as we both jumped in, I explained everything to him. When we dropped him off at his house and returned home, I was leaning over my bed and about to go to sleep, and then I heard the front gate open. When I looked out the window, to my horror, John was sneaking into our yard. Dad got mad when I told him this, so he grabbed his baseball bat and went straight outside. But when he came back after a while, he was frowning. He said, "You left your jacket." When I got my jacket, a small piece of paper fell out of my pocket. Dad picked it up and opened it. "You're mine, Michelle." A few weeks passed. That experience had made me and Callum really close, so we started dating. One day, while we were watching a movie at the theater, I really had to go to the toilet. I rushed to the bathroom to avoid missing too much of the film. On my way back, at the door of the theater, John was there. He looked furious and was actually crying. Then he rushed towards me and said, "How could you do this to me?" I was baffled. "I haven't done anything to you." He just stood there, stared at me, so I rushed back into the theater and told Callum what was going on. We left the theater immediately. I was pretty nervous about what happened, but I also thought everything would be alright soon. However, I was totally wrong. A few days later, I was in my backyard working on my art project when I heard sobbing. I turned around and John was there, holding a small container of medication in his left hand. My legs began to tremble as he moved closer to me. "Why are you here?" I asked him. "Every day. Are you with Callum just to make me jealous because it's working? But no, you are wrong." As John began smiling, my mouth went dry. "I don't even know you, so please leave." But when I said this, he began crying again as he pulled out a knife and pointed it at me. I screamed and began running towards my back fence. But before I reached it, he caught my shirt and pulled me to the ground. He held the knife to my cheek and then yelled, "I love you, Michelle. Nobody else can have you. You're mine." I was horrified, and tears were rolling down my face. "Get off her!" All of a sudden, my dad, who was gardening outside, quickly ran towards us. He beat him up with a bat, and then tied him up with a rope he got out of his shed. And I heard John mutter, "I thought you were alone." Once my dad made sure I was all right, he called the police and Callum. John began laughing like a maniac and yelled out in anger when he was arrested, "I kissed her. She's mine. Mine." Later, we got a phone call from the police, and it turned out that he was high on drugs, and his room was full of pictures of me, as well as a diary describing plans to kidnap and murder me. After that, John was sentenced to jail for 7 years. I'm 22 now, and Callum and I are still together. We've just moved to the city together recently. I have deleted all social media, but I'm still in fear. We are 2 years away from the date John will be released, and I know that one day in the future, John will likely come looking for me again.
Alright guys, that's the end of the video. If you guys liked it, please comment, share, and subscribe. And I'll see you on Funny Saturday. Peace.